Notre Dame fans, thank you for joining me for yet another video on the channel. My name is Brad Hughesby, and I am bringing to you the top targets video. I haven't made this video yet for the 2022 class. I might have made it in the 2021 class back in the spring, or excuse me, the summer of 2020, but we're back. It is May the 8th, 2021, and these are the current top targets slash no matter what takes for the Irish. The guys at the staff are pushing for the most. Quarterback's done. We move on to running back, and that running back's board has three names to know. There are a few backup guys. I might get into that in another video. But the three top guys right now at running back are Gavin Sawchuk, Dallin Hayden, and Mr. Nicholas Singleton. With Hayden, I'm expecting him to end up at Ohio State. I'm really liking where they're at in his recruitment. Singleton, it's going to be Notre Dame, Penn State till the end. Official visits will really be key for him. He's also taking one to Alabama. I'll watch out for that. And then Sawchuk, well, Sawchuk will be interesting. He has one set up for Ohio State, USC, Notre Dame, and the Oklahoma Sooners. Right now, it's an Oklahoma-Notre Dame brawl. I think it's 50-50 right now, if you ask me. Either team can come away with this, and I do think Notre Dame actually wins this recruitment. This is a little bit of a long shot prediction, but I think Notre Dame with a good official visit. He's a Notre Dame kid. Just the whole staff getting on him. I could see something working out. And he would be an absolutely monster addition, ranked in the top 50, close to 5-star status. And he would be a kid every single Notre Dame fan would be psyched up about getting. Moving on to wide receiver, there are two really key names to know, and those names are Tobias Merriweather from the state of Washington and C.J. Williams from the state of California. These two guys, both 6'3 plus, both jacked, both fast, both all-around wide receivers, both monster pickups if Notre Dame can land them. I think Notre Dame leads for both. Merriweather, a few Pac-12 schools might give Notre Dame a run for its money, but right now I'm really liking where the Irish stand in his recruitment. I definitely think they lead. C.J. Williams, I definitely think Notre Dame leads too. Some of these other schools are, I don't want to say cooling on him, but Notre Dame is just doing more than they are. Sure, some Notre Dame fans will be like, oh, no, Notre Dame never does that. Notre Dame is just putting more pressure than Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, USC, all these schools. Right now, I think Texas and Ohio State are two other teams to know. But I'm liking where Notre Dame sits with C.J. Williams, guys. I really am. If I had a pick, I might put it in. Not the highest confidence in the world, but I want to say that Notre Dame is doing really well with C.J. Williams and Tobias Merriweather. I think they're doing well as well. I would not put a pick in. I'm not that confident, but other than for Oregon, possibly USC and Stanford, I don't think any other team really is doing much better. And I do think the Irish come away landing both of these guys, pairing them with Morion Walker. And you got to be excited with that. If they take a fourth, you could see a guy like Xavier Bradshaw from Virginia, who I'm really high on as well. No offense to Morion Walker, but I might rather have Xavier Bradshaw than a Morion Walker in this class. But I do love Morion Walker's DB potential as well. We saw what happened with Cam Hart. I'm expecting him to have a big year for the Irish. Came in as more of an offensive guy and then moved over to the defensive side of the ball, and I'm expecting him to get a lot of playing time this year. So we'll see what happens. But that's the wide receiver spiel. I'll move on to tight ends here. I'm expecting this video to be up by 5 p.m. Eastern, and that's when Holden States is committing. I would be absolutely shell-shocked if he does not end up at Notre Dame. I'm going to be completely honest, guys. I'm really expecting him to commit to the Irish at 5 tonight. We'll see what happens, though. You never know. But I'm really liking where the Irish sit there. They, of course, have Eli Raridon, and that will take us to the offensive line. I want to start off by saying Notre Dame is set on the offensive line. Having a class of Blake Fisher and Rocco Spindler, two guys who might be starting as true freshmen, you can't ask for much more out of both of these classes, but Joey Tanona and Ty Chan, both top 200 players, Notre Dame is already set up well for the future. Of course, I will touch on Zach Rice, the number 5 overall player in the nation, according to 247 Sports Composite Rankings. Notre Dame is looking good there. I'm not going to say they're leading, but I think they're in a solid 3rd or 4th. If Blake Fisher starts this year and Zach Rice drags his commitment on to the fall and winter, Notre Dame still has a spot open. boy, you gotta like Notre Dame's odds. Blake Fisher is still recruiting him, even though he's on campus now. He's no longer a recruit; he's a player. But boy, I have more optimism than most. I'll say that about Zach Rice. I didn't have much, but he is taking his final official visit to Notre Dame. Of course, he'll see Blake Fisher there. Blake Fisher will be there representing. And I'm really confident Blake Fisher starts. And if you're Zach Rice, you say, dang, I could start as a true freshman or a redshirt freshman for Notre Dame O-line U. Of course, he's big on education, big on his faith. I'm liking Notre Dame, guys. Do I think they'll win this recruitment? I have no clue. No clue. I don't think there's a leader in his recruitment. I think all 5 of his top 5 schools, other than maybe Ohio State, could win it. But Virginia, UNC, Alabama, and Notre Dame are all looking very good there. Moving on the list, Joe Brunner, offensive tackle from Wisconsin. I think he's going to end up at Wisconsin. Big Wisconsin family, but we will see. Jeff Quinn is of course pushing hard, and he will visit with Carson Hintzman June 18th through 20th, I believe. So watch out for that. Notre Dame will, of course, try to do something major there. Emil Wagner, I thought he would end up at Notre Dame, but the more and more I think about it, I think he's going to end up at the Ohio State University, sadly. Ohio kid, has always been an Ohio State fan. It's going to be hard to turn him away from the Buckeyes. Billy Scrouth is a guy that all Notre Dame fans are aware of. I thought this dude would be committed by now. He's not. He will visit June 11th. I'm confident he locks things up in the month of June or July. I really see no way he doesn't end up in the blue and gold. You, of course, have Tenona and Chan already committed. We'll move on to George Fitzpatrick, who's not a top-of-the-board guy. The rest of these guys are, and they're ranked highly like that too. Fitzpatrick is still a top 300 player. Like, that's crazy how you have a four-star in the top 300 that is not a top-of-the-board guy. Absolutely wild, but not a top-of-the-board guy. We'll move on and talk about Jake Taylor for now. I really liked where Notre Dame sat a few months ago, but now I do think he ends up at Oklahoma or Alabama. I just think they're recruiting him harder, and Notre Dame is looking better in the recruitments of Rice and Hintzman. But we will see. If Notre Dame takes 5, I could definitely see them landing 3 more to go with Ty Chan and Joey Tenona. I'm confident Mr. Scrouth is the 3rd, and then I'm confident you could see a guy like, I don't know, Zach Rice at 4 or Carson Hintzman at 4, and then Joe Brunner at 5, maybe Jake Taylor, and then if you have to fall to George Fitzpatrick, which is not a fall at all, I guess you'd land him. So that's my little spiel on the offensive line. I'll move on to the defensive line where it gets interesting. There are not a ton of guys left on Notre Dame's defensive line board, but there are 3 names to really, really know. That is Cyrus Moss, Anthony Lucas, and of course Donovan Heinisch. I think Wesselak, Bauman, and then Ernest Cooper got the boot, but when Notre Dame is stacked up right now, Gobiar is officially a 4-star. Tyson Ford has always been a top 125 player, top 150 player. I believe he's top 75 on Rivals, but you got to like where Notre Dame is at on the defensive line side. I'm expecting Heinisch to commit in the coming weeks, and then I am expecting either Lucas or Moss to end up in the blue and gold. I think Lucas is more of a possibility than Moss, but Moss has no leaders. We will see what happens. Official visits will play an absolutely massive role in deciding where he goes to play college ball, but right now, Heinisch, Lucas, Moss, 3 names to know. For linebackers, there are not too many names to know as well. You have Nuwafe Tulimaka, the linebacker from California. You have Sebastian Cheeks, the linebacker from Evanston, Illinois. And you have Jalen Sneed, the linebacker from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Those 3 guys are really the last names to know. I'm not really sure if Notre Dame will be taking 2 or 3 linebackers to finish out their class. They have 2 currently committed, Nolan Ziegler and Joshua Burnham. But I'm going to be honest, Sebastian Cheeks did not look all impressive in his spring junior season. Jalen Sneed from South Carolina has looked ultra impressive recently, just flying. I absolutely love his game. I think he could be just like Jalen Smith, Buckus award-winning type guy. And then Nuwafe Tulimaka Reminds me a lot of Manti Te'o. I gotta be honest, big physical linebacker. You see Zaven Collins, big physical linebacker. Same with Micah Parsons. Get drafted in the first round. You gotta like that. So I like these big linebackers. Nuaf Tulimaka is just that. So I'm really liking those three guys. If those guys don't work out, Lander Barton from Utah is a guy to know. And also Robbie Snelling from Nevada, name we haven't talked about a lot recently. And Davon Jackson. It's going to be crazy if Notre Dame leaves out Davon Jackson. I think he would want in. I'd much rather go to Notre Dame than Arizona State, but I do think he ends up at Arizona State. Oklahoma just landed a commitment from Kip Lewis, a linebacker out there from the Southwest. But Davon Jackson, 4-star everywhere. Really, really impressive guy. I don't think he's going to have a spot in this class. So that's just kind of crazy to think about, but those are a few names to know. At linebacker, at corner, and safety, there are a bunch of names to know, actually. I'm going to say right now, Kamari Rogers is no longer a target for the Fighting Irish. It is what it is. Jair Brown, though, still is, from Ohio. Just lost his father, so I don't think he's much into recruiting. Just terrible, terrible for him. But I could definitely see him ending up in this class. I think his decision, I guess his final decision, because I would call him committed to Ohio State, but I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that. I think I'm treating him more as an uncommitted prospect, but I think he's going to stick it out with the Buckeyes. But I'm not really trying to worry about his recruitment right now. Jaden Gold, no longer really a target. Troyano Pride did not include Notre Dame in his top 7. Ephesians Prysock, wouldn't really call him a top target. But the top targets right now are 100% at corner, Benjamin Morrison and Jaden Bellamy. I really like those two guys. Bellamy just came out with a top 6 of Rutgers, Clemson, Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma. Those 6 are really in the picture. I think a top 3 or a top 4 would be Rutgers, Penn State, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Morrison, Alabama and Notre Dame are going to war for him, which is good. You need to win those battles against Alabama, guys. If they steal them, that would suck. But then you look at guys like Nikkei Martinez, who I do think if Notre Dame pushes, they would land. All 3 of those guys are taking officials in June. Some more backup guys: Davis Nagbonosin, Ephesians Prysock, etc. And then at safety, to finish this video off, the big name to know is Xavier Nwankpa, but Jake Pope is, of course, there. Sherrod Koval. And Taylor Groves from Tennessee is a name not many people are talking about. Devin Moore is another guy to know. Brian Keller really likes him. But yeah, a few guys to know. Jaden Manhangam and Cooper Barakate, I'm not really seeing ending up at Notre Dame. Kevin Winston, maybe. He's more of a backup guy as well. But those are just a few names to know for you Fighting Irish fans. And that is the video. I really hope you consider liking and subscribing. It definitely means a lot. It helps me grow. And I appreciate you guys watching this 13+ minute video. Just leave a comment also. I respond to every single comment if it's Notre Dame football recruiting related. That is the video. Peace.